Howdy, everyone. It is Aaron Farmer with My Sugar Free Journey. And we are in a minute, we're going to talk about the C word. Um, but before I do that, I just want to say I posted a Weight Loss Wednesday late last night on the site. So you can go read that if you want to. Lost another 6 pounds since last month. Pretty happy with that. Moving in the right direction. I was hoping to be under 200 pounds by the end of the year. I don't think I'm going to get there. It looks like I'll probably be about 240-ish by the end of the year, maybe 230, and hopefully hit 200 by summer of next year. It looks like that's the way it's going to go, and that's all right. I'm fine with that. I don't think I'm going to lose 65 pounds or whatever it is, 63 pounds, 62 pounds in the next 6 months. But who cares? I did find out that 3 days ago on the 2nd was the midway point of the year. So we are now closer to the end of the year than we are from the beginning of the year. So it's all downhill from here. Also, I found out that we are now closer to 2050 than we are to 20 or 2000. So we are closer to 2050 than we are to the year 2000, which is pretty crazy because I remember the year 2000 like it was yesterday. Although I have to say, many of my memories of pre 9/11 America, they kind of get faded a little bit. That changed the world so much. So today we were going to talk about the C word. We're going to talk about breakfast cereal. Breakfast is the most important meal of the day. You ever heard that? I was surprised when I learned that that's not like that's not like some conventional wisdom that was like passed down from generation to generation. It was a Kellogg's ad from 1944. Breakfast is the most important meal of the day was a Kellogg's ad from 1944. So I've learned that breakfast is not really the most important meal of the day. The first meal of the day might be the most important meal of the day. That doesn't necessarily have to be breakfast. You could, if you're looking for an easy way to cut calories, you can skip breakfast, go all the way to lunch, compress your eating window to like 5 or 6 hours, eat lunch at 1 or 2, and eat dinner 6 or 7, and get a very compressed eating window, and you want to make sure that you're eating a lot of protein during that time. But breakfast is the most important meal of the day. If you've ever said that, if you've ever thought that, that was a marketing campaign. A lot of people paid a lot of money to get that idea into your head. Also, there are 9 cereals. There are 9 cereals that dominate 41% of all sales. Lucky Charms, Frosted Flakes, Fruit Loops, Cheerios. Cheerios, you actually know what the number one selling breakfast cereal in America is? And I was surprised to learn this. It's Honey Nut Cheerios, of all things. But, God forbid I don't have AVG on. And all of these cereals, they are all just sugar coated grains. That's all they are. They're all just sugar coated grains. Lucky Charms. Oh man, I used to love Lucky Charms when I was a kid. I would eat Lucky Charms. I would have eaten it every morning if you'd let me. Something about those mushrooms, boy. I tell you what, I loved them. But Lucky Charms, Frosted Flakes, Fruit Loops, the varieties of Cheerios, a couple other ones. But there's just like 9 cereals that dominate 41% of the market. The cereal industry spends $173 million per year to market directly to kids under 12. And this is really interesting. So I grew up in the 80s. Before the 80s, you couldn't market directly to children. It was the law. You couldn't market directly to children. Probably it was a pretty wise That was probably a pretty wise law. In the 80s, they changed that. Now, um, I say you couldn't market directly to children on TV. I should have said that. Now, you know, my strongest memories of TV in the 80s when I was a kid were like G.I. Joe, Transformers, He Man, uh, some of the other ones, but the GI Joe and Transformers, those were big ones. Those are the ones you had to get home as quick as you could from school to make sure that you never missed an episode, especially Transformers. I love Transformers, and um, those were essentially 30-minute commercials for GI Joes and Transformers, and then of course. A 30-minute TV show is really 22 minutes long. You have the other 8 minutes that's all commercials. And what are the commercials that are going to be in any given episode of Transformers? Well, you've got kids sitting in front of the TV. It's going to be ads for kids. And what's the biggest thing that you want kids to buy? It's breakfast cereal and toys. So they had created a way to market directly to children, and the the breakfast cereal component of that uh, specifically, they were spending $173 million a year to market directly to kids, and it's hard enough. You take your kids to the store, they've seen the commercials. So the commercials have created a demand. When you go to the grocery store, cereal makes up an entire aisle. I mean, if you walk down the breakfast cereal aisle, like one side is usually in, all cereal all the way down, and the other side's like oatmeal or protein bars or something, which is they're not a whole lot better. But one side is completely breakfast cereal. They put the kids cereal at eye level to the kids, not to the adults. They put the Lucky Charms and the Toucan Sam and the Tony the Tiger, all those cartoon mascots or whatever they're using to sell their cereals. They're putting them right at eye level to the kids, usually on that second shelf, so that the kids say, this is what I want. I saw this commercial for Fruit Loops. I saw this commercial for Lucky Charms. This is what I want. So they're literally targeting your children for profit, and they've been doing it again. Well, they've been doing it since the 40s, but they've been doing it with TV commercials since the 80s. And uh, and again, when you look at the rates of obesity, it was really the 80s, maybe a little bit the 70s, but really the 80s that the obesity epidemic, the obesity crisis, really begins to take off. And one of the reasons why that's happening is, one of the reasons is they're adding seed oils to everything. But another one is they're convincing the American public that the best and healthiest breakfast that you can eat is this breakfast cereal. And, I never understood as a kid when at the end of each commercial, they would show you the bowl of cereal and they would say part of this complete breakfast. And the part of this complete breakfast was always like toast and a glass of milk and a glass of orange juice. And you know what? Let me look that up, because there was a part of complete, because there was something else. Because I remember one time, just to see what it was, is I made a complete breakfast one time, just like what you saw on TV. And I remember there was some kind of fruit, or maybe it was the orange juice that I'm thinking of. Yeah, they usually. So I'm looking at pictures now. They usually had some kind of fruit in there. Yeah. So I'm looking at this picture of honeycomb cereal, and they were like kiwi and cantaloupe in there. But it's always milk, juice, toast, and it looks like fruit is in every one of these. So yeah, so when I was a kid, I tried to do this one time. I made a complete breakfast just to see what it was like. And so I had a bowl of cereal, I had some toast, I had some milk, I had some orange juice. I don't remember if I had the fruit. I had to have, maybe a banana. Oh yeah, because I like to put bananas in my cereal. And it was just so much food. it was so much liquid. You had to put milk in your cereal, and then you had to have a glass of milk, and you had to have a glass of orange juice. That was part of your complete breakfast. I remember eating it, thinking, "My God, we're supposed to eat like this is what we're supposed to eat every day for breakfast." Well, only it was just that was just because it was a complete breakfast and it had something from every major food group. I guess the milk counted as meat. So what is it? Milk. So dairy. Uh, what are the food groups? Meat, dairy, fruits and vegetables, grains, right? So there wasn't a meat in there. There would have had to have been a meat in there. I wonder if they put peanut butter on the toast. I don't know. That's a good question. Now I'm curious. No. Nope. Nope. I don't know. But it was just silly. It was just a silly thing that they came up with to make cereal, a part of this complete breakfast. But nobody ate a complete breakfast. You had a bowl of cereal, which was just all sugar and carbs. Before cereal, Americans ate ham and eggs, they ate fried potatoes, they drank coffee, and then Kellogg's and Post and all them, they went up to Battle Creek and started creating these breakfast cereals out of the wheat and everything that America was growing in abundance, and it became this multi-billion-dollar industry. And what you might not realize is the original cornflakes didn't have sugar in them. I think it was Post did the cornflakes, and Kellogg's did cornflakes, but they sold, but they didn't sell great. And the reason they didn't add sugar to them was the whole point of them was they were supposed to be really bland. And they were supposed to be really bland because Kellogg was trying to create foods that would control libido. He really, and this is one of those crazy things, but he really thought that like meaty foods and even spicy foods would get people excited. And he thought that our natural libido needed to be suppressed. He was a Seventh-day Adventist. It's a crazy story. If you ever want to look into the history of it, it's pretty wild. But he did it to create to lower libido. He also invented graham crackers. Graham crackers were invented to control libido. Isn't that crazy? But then. So Post and Kellogg were selling about the same amount of cornflakes, but then Kellogg put sugar on his cornflakes. So he invented Frosted Flakes, and that's when sales really took off. So now they realized that it was the mixture of sugar with grains that was really going to drive sales, and that's when things really took off. The global cereal market today is $47 billion. $47 billion, and it's going to grow to $72 billion here before too long. There's 2.7 billion boxes sold per year. I mean, just think of how much sugar and grains you have to produce to sell 2.7 billion boxes of cereal every year. It's nuts. 116 million pounds of sugar is used annually. And again, just think of what it takes to create that. How many, trucks full of cereal and grain have to go into these factories every single day in order to pull the Lucky Charms and the Frosted Flakes out of the other side. It's nuts. It's so crazy. And back before we really had a handle on what you could advertise and what you could say in your advertisements, they would just lie. Kellogg's told they had advertising circulars that said, so I got something in my eye, that said that frosted mini wheats improved kids' attention by 20%. That's not true. There was no science behind it. They just said it. Frosted mini wheats improved kids' attention by 20%. The FTC actually ended up suing them, and they paid $4 million from that suit. But $4 million, that's probably about 3 days worth of profits for these companies. Another claim, Grape nuts have more nutrition than 10 pounds of meat. In fact, you may have seen that because I vaguely remember seeing an ad like that when I was a kid. Grape nuts have more nutrition than 10 pounds of meat. And I actually used to kind of believe this because I used to eat grape nuts. And if you ever had grape nuts, they're not good. It's like eating a bowl of gravel. It's so I remember them when you ate them, they were so loud to chew that I couldn't hear the TV because you always watch cartoons while you're eating your breakfast cereal, but I couldn't hear the TV over the sound of my own chewing. That's how tough grape nuts were. I don't know who invented grape nuts, but so they had this marketing line that grape nuts have more nutrition than 10 pounds of meat. It was just totally made up. It was just totally made up. It didn't. It just wasn't something that was true. Um, so again, before all these cereals took over, your great great grandmother, she ate eggs, she ate bacon, she might have had a little fruit. There weren't any cartoon mascots, there weren't any nutrition labels. Um, Kellogg's totally gave up the idea of being health food. They weren't concerned with creating a food product that was healthy for the American consumer. They just relied on heavy advertising. And once in the 80s they were able to advertise directly to children, man, sales took off and they were off to the races. Kids who eat sugary cereals for breakfast do it for years. It becomes part of their morning identity. I know people who are adults, full grown adults, that eat a bowl of cereal every morning, which is crazy to me. Um, and in fact, I think that's why they make cereal that's marketed for adults to make them switch over. Like you're done with the Lucky Charms and the Fruit Loops, but now you need to eat Special K or Grape Nuts or some of these cereals that's marketed more for adults. I think that's why those cereals exist. Is they know that as you grow older, you don't want marshmallows in your cereal anymore, but they still want you to eat cereal. Um, and why not? If they spent all that money to hook our kids when they're young, you're not going to just let them off the hook when they grow old. You're going to keep them on the hook, and you're going to keep them on that sugar train, eating a bowl of cereal every morning. And now they've gotten even more sophisticated, where now they've got these protein bars, which is or like Nutri-Grain bars, and so it's like sweet fruit paste inside of a grain shell or whatever, or Belvita crackers. No, Belvita cookies. They're a breakfast cracker or breakfast cookies with how they're marketing them, and I've seen those at the store. I don't know what a breakfast cookie is, but they've got these Belvita cookies that are supposed to be breakfast cookies. They're just cookies. I mean, how do they cheap wheat and cheap sugar so that they make huge profits and they don't care about your health and they don't care about the obesity crisis that they're feeling, and they don't care that your kids are already struggling with attention span and hyper uh, what is it, ADHD and ADD and all that stuff. I'm 50 years old. I had two younger brothers. I still have two younger brothers, and so even in the 80s and the 90s, one of my brothers was diagnosed with ADD, and the other one was diagnosed with ADHD. So one was ADD, and he was kind of slow, like he was disinterested in everything, and he wasn't paying attention. And the other one had ADHD, and he was hyper. He was always just bouncing off the walls and talking. And that's my strongest memory of my little brother growing up, is that dude would never shut up. He was like, he had 10,000 words in him every day that had to come out of his mouth. And if he didn't, they would explode. And so he was just talking. And I also remember we ate a lot of breakfast cereal. Um, and since 2010, the kids cereal have gotten worse. They've increased the amount of fat in kids cereal by 33.6%. They've increased the amount of sodium in kids cereal by 32.1%. They've increased the amount of sugar in kids cereal by 10.9%, which is pretty amazing because they were already just sugar covered wheat. So they've managed to increase the amount of sugar in each one of these things. They've managed to reduce the amount of protein, the amount of fiber. They are literally making our food worse. And I remember 20 years ago reading a book called Salt, Sugar, Fat. Hold on just a second. Let me find out when that came out because I read it in 2013. So yeah, I guess it was 12 years ago when I read it. And it was really an amazing book to me. Yeah, 20, that was stupid. Oh, it was definitely 20 years ago. Reading that book, because what this book is about is how the food industries, which were purchased by the cigarette companies, were taking all the scientists that figured out how to get people addicted to cigarettes, and their new project was to figure out how to get people addicted to food. And so all these scientists were all about adjusting the amount of salt, sugar, and fat in each food substance so that they became addictive. And that was literally what they were setting out to do. Is, you remember the old ad campaign, you can't eat just one. I think that was a Pringles campaign with some kind of chip. And they could say that because they had scientists working and making hundreds of millions of dollars just to figure out how to make food so addictive that that you were obsessed with it and you had to eat. That's why most Americans eat every 2 or 3 hours. They get up at 8. They'll have breakfast. They have lunch at 12. They have a snack at 3. They come home and eat dinner at 6. Then maybe they have a dessert. Eat it. You reduce the amount of fiber and the amount of protein that you put in your food. Fiber and protein are filling. So if you reduce the amount of protein, reduce the amount of fiber in your food, it's not as filling. You can shove more of their junk food into your gullet, and you don't get full as fast. You continue to you're able to eat more in any one time, and also because it's low in fiber, your body clears it out pretty fast, and you get hungrier faster. The old joke about Chinese food is you're hungry, an hour after you eat it. Well, it's because Chinese food is mostly rice, and that passes through your system pretty quick. And so now we've got all these junk foods that they don't fill you up, and after you eat them, you're hungry very, very quickly. Shortly afterwards, same with cereal. You eat breakfast cereal, at 8. You're really, really hungry again by like 10 or 11, and maybe you last until noon, but most people don't. Most people get a snack. So again, there's a real simple solution: eggs, bacon, ham, sausage, meat, protein. It's cheap. You can buy 3 eggs for $1 or so. I eat three eggs and a piece of sausage every morning. That's my normal breakfast. The sausage itself is maybe $1. The eggs are maybe $1. So my breakfast costs me about $2 every morning. It's cheap. It's filling. It's full of protein. Helps me lose weight. Helps keep my energy up. I'm not on the sugar roller coaster, spiking and crashing. Things are moving well, and I feel good. And I look so much better now that I've cut out all the sugars and grains. I couldn't recommend it enough. And eggs and sausage don't give you type 2 diabetes, which is a big deal. So don't let big cereal control your kids, program your kids. Be careful about the shows that you let them watch, the advertising you let them see. Be very clear with your kids about why you're not going to feed them cereal, what it's going to do to their health, and eat real food. Eat real food for breakfast. Eat real food for lunch. Eat real food for dinner. But eat real food. Don't eat the things don't eat any food that's been invented in the last 100 years. because every piece of food that we've invented in the last 100 years is not good for us. Eat the foods your great great grandmother ate, and you'll be healthier. All right. I appreciate you guys watching. This is Aaron Farmer with